All right, so this is my 1983 280ZX 2+2 T-tops, 2.8 liter L28, 3-speed auto with a torque locker. Yeah, this has been, I've had this car for about 8 years now. And for a good 3 years, it was actually my daily driver. It's been super dependable. Like, it's never left me stranded once, and I could drive this thing to Florida and back from here from Washington and not have any hesitations. Yeah, so I'd say things to note on it. The paint, I'd say it's probably about, I don't know, 7.5 to maybe a 7 out of 10. There's definitely some chips. There's definitely a few areas where it's got a little bit of scuffing going on. However, yeah, that's probably the biggest dent you'll find in the car right there. And let's see here. Yeah, so some of the emblems have definitely cracked over the years, and you can rebuy these. You can get, new old stock ones, or you can get ones that are 3D printed and whatnot. But I don't know. I never really cared too much about those. And for me, it's always been a driver. Let's see. So there are some spots where the clear coat is definitely peeling. This is, I don't know, it's some kind of a door ding guard that I got on the car when I bought it. And yeah, I think the paint would probably, it was definitely repainted with this on, so I wouldn't pull that off unless you're repainting the car, and I never did. It's always been, yep, just a driver. There are a few spots over the years where I had a little bit of that clear coat bubble and some surface rust happen. It's a pretty bad one right there for this car, but if you looked at any other Z's, you know that around the taillights here, it's typically real bad. And you can see there's a few areas in here that I have touched up. I'll open up the rear hatch in a minute here and kind of show that. And it's kind of hard to see here, because it is kind of hard to see, but there was a little bubble I had here at one point, and I fixed that, and I kind of airbrushed it in. It is noticeable in the broad daylight if you're looking for it, but otherwise it definitely blends in pretty well. Yeah, let's see here. The undercarriage of the car is pretty dang clean. You'll struggle to find really any surface rust under here or anything that's not straight. And the car in general, it's pretty dang straight. I looked at, well, I've owned a few Z's. My dad's owned a few Z's. A lot of my friends have owned Z's, and as far as they go, this one's really solid. There's no major rust, and pretty much no rust in general. As I've said, there's been a few tiny little spots that bubbled up over the years, which is pretty almost impossible not to have here in Washington. And originally this was a California car, and I have kept this garage pretty much most of its life, or all of its life. Some of it was in the carport, but let's see. I also have color matched air ducts. They go with this car. These ones were from a donor car from a junkyard. I just wanted some black ones to kind of do a two-tone with it. I also have the original rims that came with this car. These ones right here are Koenig rewinds, and they're sitting on Vauxland Progressive drop springs, which actually, I was really concerned when I put those on that it was going to be a rough ride, but it's actually smoother than it used to be. With the original ones that it sat higher with, there was quite a bit more gap within the wheel well. It was a single spring rate, where this is a progressive. So what that means is basically this will have, like, I don't know, like an inch or two of a lower spring rate, so it gives a little bit more for those smaller bumps, and it has less like jolt to the front of an impact that you have, whether it's a speed bump or a pothole. And once you kind of get through that give, though, like if you're in a corner, it hits a much harder spring rate, so it corners better and overall handles faster. And I think pretty much all cars nowadays have progressive spring rates, whereas back in the 80s, yeah, I think they typically just ran a single spring rate for most cars. Yeah, moving on to the inside. When I got this car, it somewhat recently had a new interior kit put in it, and yeah, it looks pretty darn good. So the one thing to note is this door handle pull right here, which I need to tighten down. On the other side, I took it off and I was doing some, I was putting a new window motor in it, and I somehow lost the, yeah, that door cup right there. Actually, I think it got stepped on, obliterated. And you can either buy those on zparts.com, or apparently you can get them 3D printed, but right now they're out of stock and I don't own a 3D printer, and yeah, I just haven't really took the time for that. And I do also have the original steering wheel for this car. I've also upgraded it to a single DIN radio. Let's see. Show you the back seats here real quick. Yeah, back seats, pretty clean. And I've always had the mats in this car. There's a few spots where I think the previous owner left a nut or bolt in there that was rusty, and that caused a rust spot right there. But yeah, you can see that. Yeah, there's no holes in it, and overall it's pretty clean. Let's see here. What else? Around the back. So in the back here, yeah, this interior kit, this is in the back here is where you can really see where the years have kind of took their toll a little bit. There's definitely some sun fading that's gone on right there, and that at some point got a little bit torn up. Yeah, this has definitely sagged a little bit, but I don't know. It's always been a driver. I've definitely thought about doing a new interior kit, because you do get some of this kind of warping that happens from, you know, going from summer to winter, and heating up and shrinking, and it just being older like that. But yeah, I'll show you right in there. That's a spot that I touched up at one point, and it's hard to tell, but that's just pollen that's on it mostly. And over on this side, it's, yeah, really solid. Yeah, there you can just see some of that clear coat, that orange peel that kind of happened while this was shot. I think that whoever shot it didn't take out these rear lights. I think they taped them off and shot into it. So you see a little bit of this, like, it's hard to see on the camera, but a little bit of orange peel. And yeah, well, let's see here. I think I'm gonna start it up. So it's gonna be a cold start. Here, I'll show the engine bay, and just to prove it's a cold start, I'm gonna put my hand on the header. So reaching down in there. So haven't started this thing up in probably about 12 hours now, and yeah, I don't know, nothing too fancy in here. New distributor, new plug wires, just some basic maintenance. One thing to note is, you know, in the 8 years I've owned it, when I first got it, I redid a lot of the vacuum tube lines, and lately I found a lot of split ones that I, you know, snipped them right before the split and pushed them back on. So I don't know, they're probably going to be due for vacuum lines in the next probably 5 to 10 years. I don't know, maybe sooner, depending on your climate. But yeah, let's go for a start. goes. Oh, yeah, another thing that is definitely worth noting is over the years it does have a few tears in the headliner, unfortunately. And those were there when I got it, and yeah, I didn't really feel like redoing the headliner in the car. Oh, also, yeah, I'll be honest, as most of the Z's are, the dash is cracked. They crack in pretty much every Z, and you can either cap them, or you can just do a dash mat, and that's what I have here. You can buy remanufactured entire dashes for them, I believe, now. Again, something that, as a driver, I just never really bothered to do. Yeah, but let's see here. Oh, everything electronic-wise works. You know, those guys work. Yeah. Lights. All right. Yeah. It's not a super loud car. I think it's like a 2-inch exhaust. Nothing too crazy on it. Never really wanted it to be super loud. Yeah. Well, let's see what else on here. Yeah. Oh yeah, the T-tops. T-tops have always worked great for me. They've never leaked. I've took good care of them. They do have a few little scratches right here where, as I put them in the back of the car, and I took them off on sunny days, they've gotten a few scratches. Close that so it stops beeping at me. But not a crack on these. The windshield has a few little chips in it. There's one there and one right there. You can see it. It's better. The other thing is, yeah, it has these, it's a tape trim. And I never bothered to redo that. Thought about taking it off, but never really did. But yeah, I think that about wraps up the car. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions. Thanks.